Bina's not into Donald Duck.
Uh, no, she's had a bit of a hard week, and
Uh,
yeah, she's not really into Donald Duck.
uh,
Yeah, let's go with this.
Japanese film looks a bit interesting tomorrow.
Mhm. Mhm. Hmm.
Oh, we're back to Barbarella next week. Okay. Oh, that's right. We didn't complete it.
Yeah,
You remember all this stuff, or do you take notes?
I've got a spreadsheet.
Yeah. It would have been an advantage in school learning how to use a spreadsheet. Let's say you would have gone to high school in mid 80s,
Yeah,
and that would be a time when you were probably using desktop computers in some capacity. They might have had a few in some particular classroom, a lineup of them. You would have been shown how to operate some systems on the desktops, I suppose.
well, back in the early 80s, there was a computer programming class. They taught us BASIC, which completely useless, but that's what we got taught. 20 go to 10, that sort of thing. 10 print hello, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I remember that on the Commodore
Yeah,
64.
it was completely useless.
Well, it became rather useless, didn't it?
I don't think it was ever useful, was it?
Slightly. If you wanted to run some of the primitive programs they had at the time, or
Yeah.
some creative, fairly primitive program. I remember there was a primitive program for astronomy which used BASIC, and I thought that was pretty cool in 1990. I think when some point I got a Commodore 64 off a friend. Can't remember the exact year. It was sometime around 1990. It was the first time I ever used a computer in any capacity.
Yeah, and they had a move, new window, share, window, share.
Be great if it was like Blade Runner. Oh, you're frozen, or I'm frozen.
Okay, take two.
It made a great screenshot, actually. It was that look of surprise on your face, like somebody just dropped the bomb.
Yeah, remember that? It was data set. It looked like a tape recorder thing. Remember this? Remember that?
Yeah, the one I had was smaller, so it was a more recent version, like that one in the middle there. The 1530 cassette was the one I was using.
This this one.
Yep,
This one.
that was the type, yeah. So
And
the one you just showed was an earlier model, which was a bit more bulky.
and it never worked.
Oh, I didn't have any excessive amount of trouble with it. You could, yeah, that's right. You could write your basic programs onto that, and there are a few games and stuff like that.
You could put data in, but you couldn't get your data out again. It would write data just fine. But then if you want to do the next day, get your data out of it, nope.
But the data was on a cassette tape.
Yeah, so it was like a cassette tape thing. You could write to it, but you couldn't retrieve it.
Yeah, well, you had the floppy disk, then the hard disk showed up at about that time, and then they had a hard disk with sort of a CD style thing, DVD style thing with an entire gigabyte on it, which at the time blew everybody's skulls off. An
Sure.
entire gigabyte.
Yeah, didn't the Apollo moon landing craft have like a gigabyte of memory on it?
Yeah, I don't know what sort of actually memory. Well, I don't know much about the space capsules, but I don't know if they actually had any sort of a normal computer in the space capsules or the lunar lander. Was there a computer in the space capsule or the lunar lander?
Hmm.
There's a bit of a complaint about the next Artemis mission being an all-male crew. Right, so Apollo.
Does it had 76 kilobytes of memory? Don't know if that's accurate, but all right.
76 kilobytes.
Yeah, the
Is this the
Apollo.
lunar lander or the module?
Yeah, the landing craft. Yeah.
76 kilobytes. Okay, yeah, so it's got some type of primitive computer in it. I assume to aid in landing. But of course, the famous case was Apollo 13 when the guy had a Hewitt and Packard programmable calculator.
Yeah.
And that was what enabled him to solve the problem because that had a much faster, uh, greater power than whatever they had in the command capsule or the lunar module. Well, that's right. They crawled into the lunar module to save power. I remember that. Yeah, I remember would have been 1973, walking up Main Street, Melbourne at the time. And, you'd have a technical uh, bookstore or something like that. And, in a big Perspex case, they had all the Hewitt and Packard programmable calculators. And I think the prices on them was $300, which was like about 6 weeks' wages at the time. And you go, wow, well, we. Of course, about a year or two later, calculators are becoming more affordable. You can buy a calculator for about $40 maybe a couple of years later, but not a programmable one. So, yeah, so the Hewlett and Packards were sort of mini computers for the time. Had a bit of a tiff with Angelina last weekend.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're at the at Will's meeting, which for Melbourne's a Saturday night, and they're
Hmm.
all going on about the huge evil mega corporations around the world, and the people running them.
Hmm.
And my problem with that is we don't really fully understand the story of the people and those institutions. We don't really know what on the human level goes on inside them. I mean, we could turn around at ourselves at our own individuality and I mean, are we as individuals so wonderful? Nature might term us evil. We utilize resources and blah, blah, blah. And we accumulate wealth for ourselves and look after our own selfish interests. So, as individuals, are we that much different, except in terms of quantity? Angelina's convinced that she knows everything.
Okay.
And no, she knows. She's a Gnostic. She knows.
Hmm.
And yeah, I just said, yeah, it's just envy. You're possessed by envy. I've noted that about Angelina. That she's got a political gripe against so many things, and I try to point out it's envy. I printed that little one out of Nietzsche saying you got to own up to envy. That was Nietzsche's point, and that in all everything he said there was nothing but Greek philosophy virtually. There's hardly anything Nietzsche said on that subject in some little paragraph somewhere that just wasn't out of Aristotle or the Stoics or something like that. Aristotle marked there were two types of envy. There was the envy which Albert Ellis has used, he's utilised it. You can either despise the other person for having something or being something that you're not, or you could try to improve on yourself. That's your two possible courses of action. And Nietzsche made the point, which really grabbed me, that yes, we all operate on envy. It's simply a question of how much it dominates your mind and in what way. But it's easy to catch a person out when you say, well, you're envious and they freak. Well, Nietzsche's just saying envy's just one of those basic traits you got. It's a question of living with it. I think somebody said that. It's Rudolf Steiner, probably others have said it as well, that Nietzsche didn't come up with so much any new ideas. His big question is how do we live with these ideas? How did I get that one? Trying to get the comic. Uh, well, did you go through this one during the week or?
Yeah, we're past the halfway mark, past the peak.
Have you been through these comics before?
Yeah.
Are these? All right. So you're just breezing through them again. Okay, so it said the secret of Hondorica was supposed to be Honduras, I suppose. Honduras, which the population of Honduras has increased 6 or 7 times since 1960, not counting the million that are in America.
Mm-hmm. There's a YouTube channel that does a lot of geography trivia. I could send you the link if you're interested. They're just interesting trivia questions.
Oh, okay. Oh, it does sound a bit interesting.
Geography, yeah, trivia.
Okay, he's lost some papers in a plane crash, which remarked at the end was a bit similar to the story where they went looking for the letter that had the rare postage stamp on it. And that's one that
Mm.
always sticks in my mind.
Yeah, yeah. That one was better than this one. Yeah.
Oh, it's very straight. Everybody's almost happy families here. Donald's there. Everyone's been very respectful. Uncle Scrooge isn't being nasty. They've watered down all the emotions.
Yeah, yeah, the characterizations of the personalities would vary depending on the story. It wasn't completely adhering to consistency.
I think it's a changing culture. You look at some of the media from the silent era and the 30s talkie period and how sarcastic it was.
Hmm.
Well, like the Three Stooges followed your favourite theme. There's an episode where I think Mo becomes Hitler, but it starts off with a meeting of the, world's armaments manufacturers thinking, gentlemen, we need to start another war.
Hmm.
And they're waltzing past the Three Stooges when they're painting a room and they come across Mo and they figure, well, he can be the new Führer that can lead us into another war. So, that sort of obvious connection was even comedians are into it, but today people are blind to it. The press. I mean, do you see it in the press that, like, for example, all the business with oil and the Ukraine war and all that, how connected it with money it is? No, it's purely exhibited as politics today. There's no money or economics involved in any of the current events. That's what we've succumbed to. Why has the media changed? But yeah, this was the culture back in the 20s and 30s. It was a lot more on the ball. It was a lot sharper, and it was willing to present the darker side of human nature. You look at the early Donald Duck cartoons, and the fact is, people like Scrooge and Donald and all that could be real pricks. But here they are watered down. It's the middle 1950s. America's embracing the golden dream. We don't want to rock the boat, do we? What about savages? Won't they attack us? Savages, tut tut. You're just imagining things. Yes, indeed. I imagine your cousin Gladstone would jump at the chance to win this $5,000 reward. So there's always that envy of Gladstone. The guy just seems to have it perpetually easy, and Donald has to struggle. Oh, well, we got the map. Gladstone's curious. Got to hide the map from Gladstone. I've got to figure out a way to get a look at Donald's treasure map, but it's too noisy here. I can't think. I'll go down the river where it's quiet. Oh, the torn up pieces sort of get fully back in line. Oh, he's got the ship there. You know, it's a type of a tramp steamer, but it's a bit sort of updated. That's got a very fancy passenger section, but it's ripping through the waves in an impossible fashion. Then you got this rather nice illustration of the train on the cliff edge, and the carriage is just about falling off. They get themselves some donkeys, and he's figured out an ingenious way to encourage the donkey.
Yeah.
You got the vulture in a state of confusion as to what's happening.
Mhm.
Gladstone's already there enjoying some fruit juice.
Yeah, still excellent cartooning. Still excellent, but yeah, just a few years past the peak.
She doesn't have a dog nose. Well, they've forgotten the dog nose.
Hmm. Still excellent though, but, but yeah, definitely on the downhill side of his career at this point. But he had a long career of excellence.
Well, Gladstone has been invited to a party and he can't refuse.
Uh, I still say that's the best superpower to have. Gladstone Gander's luck. It's the unbeatable power.
Oh, well, the raffle, he gets a free helicopter trip.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so he's found the hole where the letters are hidden. The politically incorrect Indians. Some lost temple.
Right.
Oh, they've got a god there. Crazy looking gremlin god.
Mhm.
And they've got the good spirit, looks like Donald. Uh, yeah. Look at the Indian space in certain. It's a little bit. It lacks a little bit, doesn't it?
Mhm.
It's just. It's still nice, but it's just a tad lame compared to the sort of stuff we used to do. Adventures like this. I mean, there was a much more intense energy in the earlier stories. Well, it was a bump that held the crown up, which has fallen down in Gladstone's neck. Oh. Escaping from the city once again, Donald Duck has screwed up. He's been too rash. He hasn't stopped to think about things, so he's just ran in. So he's so concentrating on his imagined objective, he fails to take in any other information. Oh well, short one about the use of electricity. Donald ends up doing the kids' paper round, and this one he wants to find a quieter neighbourhood. And he's so obsessed with hearing sound that he's bothered by the squeaky slippers. And immediately it's an escalation. Well, this is has he done a character like this before? Some sort of genteel author figure, which in part was himself in some way.
Hmm.
So is this a new characterization?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got the old major upstairs. It's another witness. Donald's wants to get even. An old style record player. Oh, well, he's been kicked out of that place. Oh, well, got the race. So there's a lot of Gladstone these days. pork, muscle, J, ham fat. Oh, well, it has help from the tortoise. Yeah, it's tortoise. Oh, Donald just has some bad luck. And they've got their little pet squirrel. Who wins him the competition because it plays the ukulele? Okay. You claim to be a salesman, Duck. So this is the era of madmen coming in. I haven't watched the series Mad Men. I don't assume you've seen any of it, have you?
No, I haven't. Sure was popular.
Yeah, I don't know how factual it is, but it was the where advertising started to become very big and very powerful.
Yeah.
Now, well, sells insurance to Uncle Scrooge, who only has to have an accident and he can double his money. And then they realise the danger that they're in. Well, there's a Butch character with his Butch dog. And apparently such persona did exist in the days of old. Do not go near fools. Oh, well, Donald goes over in a tub
Mhm.
and wins a prize. So they've got to do a competition against girls in the scouts. Somebody out of the army. So the eternal battle between male and female. There's quite a lot of medals. Go well in North Korea. The impossible stacks of pancakes.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, looking through this one, it's still fairly good work. It's
Yeah,
still, it's still outstanding work, really.
I agree. It is. Yeah, he was good for a long time. Turned out some really good stuff.
The color blinds bull. There's all the animals, there's a nice little shot, Granny with her animals. So she's got a cat, a pig, and a chicken watching Donald's disappear in the distance. Well, they just didn't notice the association with blue. And it takes one of the nephews to figure it out. So he's off to Timbuktu again. He's designed his special gun. Uh, I don't know turkeys terribly well in Australia. I believe they can get rather aggressive if you rub a turkey up the wrong way. A moose for Thanksgiving. This chair's loose. I found this computer chair in a charity shop for $15. It's got armrests. Something you need if you fall asleep in the chair. I assume you've got armrests on yours, have you?
Where I'm in right now. Yeah, has armrest.
Hmm, Fix it up later. And Donald's always on the receiving end.
Mm.
A little bit of Daffy Duck there, of course. This is Daffy Duck's story as well.
Mm.
The outrageous slings and arrows of fortune end up landing on Donald and Daffy. And all Daffy can say to fate and reality in the end is you're despicable. Oh well, there was another story I think where they like being dirty, wasn't there? A few back.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
It was cardboard cutouts to fool Donald. But it's almost mad because there's almost no achievement other than to annoy Donald. It doesn't really save him terribly much time.
Hmm.
So annoying Donald is the task. So out with the Geiger counter again, and dirt's got radioactivity on it. Predicting an age in which we will be surveilled. Oh, he's got the oversized dog again. There was another one like that, wasn't there? Three dirty ducks, three dirty ducks. No one ever washes us, three dirty ducks. Yeah, the very, very first sort of Donald Duck comics, in the in the war years, Donald's doing some really outrageous stuff. Oh, they got cod liver oil over them, so they really need a wash. So that's the cleanest these ducks ever get.
Yeah.
They got their little toys there, so you got a little cow and a little tractor. Back to the thing about washing the dishes, so they'll do anything but wash dishes. And they've made a resolution, and he's making them a whole series of nice cakes that normally they'll love. Date nut bars with maple sugar peanut pie, chocolate creams and whipped honey tarts. Where was I last? I was up. I walk. Most days I'll walk to the shops. The shops are about a kilometre away, which is about 0.6 of a mile.
Mm.
I mean, your shops are a lot closer, aren't they? You've only got a couple of 100 yards or something to go, haven't you?
Yeah, if I go to that one, there's another Whole Foods, which is, I bicycle there. Just a block away, though. It's easily walkable, but I bicycle anyway.
Oh, rightio. No, it's probably you're probably better off walking. Uh,
I never got a straight answer on that. What's actually better for physical health, walking or bicycling? I've looked at it, but I can't find a straight answer on that one.
Uh, Easy guess, no, not absolute, but easy guess that the human body was built to walk.
Hmm.
In fact, in the animal kingdom, there's very few animals that can match a human's ability to range over a vast distance. I think there are certain animals like you've got, some of those flightless birds that probably have a fairly outstanding range. But humans are a mammal, and mammals are heavier, have a greater mass than birds. Uh, you're of course aware of the lymphatic system, aren't you?
Sure.
Well, the lymphatic system relies on body movement to circulate. So if you don't move around enough during the day, you're letting waste build up in your body.
Right.
And that contributes to various types of illnesses, like you can get colds and flu more easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just thinking there, what a typical day. Uh, I'll probably walk. Well, maybe a couple of miles at least per day, normally.
Okay.
And I think the motion of walking is probably very important. You don't pronate, do you?
No.
I was amazed looking at some of the people in the shopping centres. They get these guys to be security guards, and it's almost comical. You see a guy young but tremendously overweight, and the pronation of his footfalls is just gigantic. And I used to pronate in my early 20s, and then a massage guy warned me that it's better to walk with your feet straight.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I'd say yeah, a couple of miles a day is probably a necessary amount of walking. You can go further. Just trying to think now. They said somebody on YouTube said that not you don't have to do it every day, but if you average about 4,000 steps a day, that's a huge advantage in terms of getting illness.
Right.
You can go further, like you can walk 7,000 steps in a day, and that creates a little bit more advantage. But the huge advantage is arrived at about 4,000 steps. Well, I take a photograph of Donald's. They get him to put his cap on. I won't wear the cap in the house anymore. Candied kumquats, irresistible.
Hmm.
You know our resolution? I guessed it. So there's an extraordinary range of behaviours here, isn't there?
Hmm.
I spend most of my time on alone, so I don't can't really engage in the behaviours without sharing my life with somebody else.
Hmm. Hmm. Sure.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was up at the shops. They'll damn pricing the donuts. And I just love cinnamon donuts. But there's the question of the amount of calories. There's a question of sugar.
Hmm.
I tend to, go past the ice cream refrigerators, and
Hmm. Hmm.
it was many years ago I decided that, I'll eat other sorts of junk food, but I'll avoid sugar. Funny thing is, lately I've been eating, I'll get uh, 2 weight of uh, dates. So you got dates, dried dates with the seeds removed, which must be, packed with sugar.
Right.
So I'll mix 2 to 1 walnuts. And I just love that taste of the walnuts and the dates together. Well, he's washing the dishes. Well, he's got his ice vehicle, and the nephews have come up with their own simple contraption. And Donald's got a cheat. And there's a rather dumb looking cat. Okay, so the dog chases the cat. The eternal engine. And even though the boat won't sink in the lake, things still manage to screw up for him. Bad luck just hits him. Oh, well, Scrooge's hat. They both run into a brick wall, but Gladstone has to run in the part with a mattress sticking up. So you see in I suppose Bach, he struggled a bit in life, and so he just detested those people that seem to have uh, you know, a a red carpet put out before them everywhere they went. He's given the choice of 2 companies to run. He's got the feathers. Things don't work out because of a tornado, and the same tornado solves Gladstone's problem. Well, the old button-up boots, or those, what do they call them? I think they had those sort of, they weren't gaiters. So it seems to be something that's gone over the boot. Spats. There used to be, yeah, some sort of thing that was buttoned up above the shoe. Well, Donald's hit it lucky by creating a disaster for everybody else. Let's see, he's trying to get a place in the sporting team, and luck is working for him. But even though he's the only candidate in the end, things don't work out. Chief Bounding Rabbit. The Pride of Duckburg. Trestle Truck Horse.
Mhm.
And there's a woman ruining everything for him again. And Donald's shot put efforts. Oh well, the flag of the European.
Yeah.
Now we know how it arose.
Mhm.
It symbolises being hit on the head.
Sure. Hmm.
It's the adventures of Trump there because he's stirring up the Euros and stirring up stuff everywhere else he goes.
Hmm.
All right, in the rainstorm again, he's done a few of those in other places.
Right.
Donald's backyard. This was an interesting one, actually, I thought.
Mhm.
A war with the Gophers. You're going to pour concrete, and now the concrete's ended up in his basement.
Yeah.
And he's got the gophers to go over to his neighbour's place. It's sort of a roughneck as usual.
Yeah, just the inventiveness of coming up with these story ideas constantly for decades. He just came up with these story ideas and he reused story ideas very, very sparingly.
Oh, probably he was inspired by his own life, being a person living in a domestic world. And he probably did little things like gardening. Today he would have been a lot more wealthy relatively, but back in those days, being wealthy wasn't quite the same as it is today. Today, you've just got so much more that you can get. You've got much cheaper labor and stuff like that. You can hire somebody else to work your backyard. Unless Trump gets his way, then they'll have to go back to working on their own backyard again. Cutworms. I haven't heard of them before. Have to look that up. Cutworms. Well, Cutworms is the music project of an American singer and songwriter. And we find cutworms a genus rather than the cutworms they're trying to sell you.
It says cutworms are the destructive caterpillar larval stage of various night-flying moths.
Ah, rightio, yeah, I just saw it there. Cutworms, caterpillar.
They are named for their habit of severing the stems of young plants at or just below the soil line.
That's quite a feat. I wonder how they managed to do that. Well, they have to be small, soft plants, wouldn't it? Well, there's an interesting fruit, mulberries. Maybe I should have gotten a mulberry tree.
Berry. Have you ever eaten mulberries?
No, I haven't tried them. Trouble is the parrots. I got a persimmon tree, and the other birds wouldn't raid the persimmons. Uh, so you can take them off the tree green, and they'll ripen over time. So I was doing pretty good, but then this particular parrot comes along, known as the lorikeet, and they'll just chew into anything. So they'll start on the persimmons before they're ready.
Hmm.
Oh, well, there goes his tree. The birds are singing victory. The gophers chomping on a bit of wood. Everybody's doing well but Donald. Okay, there's a quite interesting shot, boy and the dolphins. All right, he's got the blow up dinghy. Back to piano practice. Having a race and he cheats. Got the submarine there, the submersible. It's the sort of stuff you'd love if you were a kid, if you actually had something like that. Oh, Donald's out for another $200.
Hmm.
And there's the woman with the two kids. He's got them on ropes. This is the one. He's got these radioactive buttons on top of the caps. So, the question of radioactivity doesn't really come up. He ends up chasing the bears. Well, there's Donald in his rash behaviour again. In Barks' longer stories, which ran in Uncle Scrooge's own title, Scrooge took centre stage and Donald was the co-star. Artist Don Rosa, who as a kid read the stories as they came out, has said that made him think of Scrooge as the main character and Donald as the supporting one, which tended to be my outlook as well.
Hmm.
As in The Gilded Man, so that was the story which had the stamp in it. Yeah, that one I remember very well. So that was considered one of the really top stories. In Goof Ups, Karl Barks, a committed environmentalist, spins a parable on humanity's vain struggle against the forces of nature. Well, there's some points if you're an environmentalist, a worshipper of Gaia, as David Miller would say. That's points on your side. I think Rick pointed out something most people miss is it was actually the right wing which started the conservatives that started the environmental movement. And the left, as per usual, cannot create anything and simply hijacks an institution, takes that institution and misuses it and sinks it. So Campbell's story of the two gods. There's one God which does things right, and there's the brother God that just does things badly. Yeah, well, that was back in the days when you could actually get into a national park, and there was plenty of room, I suppose. I remember watching a news program about America in the 80s, and it was pointing out that the national parks had become crowded by that stage. But say back in Carl's Barks days, it was there was still plenty of room. It was just starting to become popular tourism. In the 50s, there had been tourism before, but was not as strong. Stories behind the stories. The secret of Hondorica. He submitted Dog Catch a Duck as an 8-page story, but after reshuffling, the story had to fit into a 6-page slot. It wasn't as easy as simply plucking out 2 discrete pages, so pages and panels had to be cut apart and pasted back together in a way that would make sense. In all the kerfuffle, the bottom 2 rows of panels on what is now page 5 of the story were reversed. Barks pronounced what was left of the story a bad jumbled mess. The mess has been reprinted in the US and abroad for 30 years until it was finally corrected in the Karl Barks Library. It is presented correctly here. All right, so we got the full version. Okay, so we're up to 1956.
Yeah, we've been at this for a year and a half now. We're past the halfway mark.
Yeah, I don't know, absolutely know if I'll be going the full distance. I'm just curious to
Right,
see where it ends up, and I'm just wondering which ones did I get when I was a kid, and
right.
also I'd seen quite a few of the classics, and the classics stick in your mind.
Sure.
It's, I mean, I'm remembering, all those classic stories from last time I would have seen the comics was 1974 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Donald Duck made me the man I am today.
Mhm. Mhm. Legendary works by one of the greatest of all time. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, I'm a bit intrigued by the Japanese movie tomorrow. That's sort of that classic period of Japanese black and white films set in the samurai era.
Yeah, just another random pick. I don't have any method or list I'm going down. Completely randomly picked, like rolling dice. What comes up, comes up.
There, well, the Japanese lost World War II. They were bombed out, and yet create a quite vibrant cinema, and then try to conquer the world's manufacturing.
Hmm.
And look at them today. It's sort of just like they've lost the drive a bit. They're sort of turned in on themselves. I was watching stuff on YouTube like the Japanese salarymen, where they're talking about their pathetic lives, fairly underpaid. It's an interesting thing is that they could go to a corner store and the food's very cheap compared to what you might see in Australia or America. You could get fairly cheap meals, but I think something like their monthly wage was equivalent to about $700 or something like that. So it's fairly low wages internationally. The senior salarymen get more money, but you get this guy. He's working very long hours. He's in his little flat, which doesn't cost him an excess amounts. Well, it just looks like there's a lot of stuff in Japan that's just far better planned out. They've made allowance for low wage workers. they've got affordable accommodation for low wage people. It must be quite a massive part of the market. So Japan is a society which has dotted a few of the boxes of social awareness. The salary man, has a few beers. I think one of them mentioned that they passed out drunk on a footpath, just at the side of a footpath somewhere. And they woke up hours later, their wallet's still in their pocket. This is a society where you can leave something, you could leave your wallet somewhere and retrieve it. It's still that today, even though it seems to have lost. The Japanese remain the one of the really amazing peoples. The Nazis regarded them as honorary whites. In South Africa, they listed Japanese as whites during the apartheid era. But yeah, just an amazing culture.
Right.
And it got there by being exclusive, not practicing the slightest amount of inclusion at all. Well, maybe a slight amount of inclusion. Yeah, YouTube packed up last night for about an hour. Oh, no, not YouTube, Facebook.
Hmm.
About 12 hours ago.
Hmm.
So that would have been in the very early hours of the morning for you.
Hmm. I didn't notice anything. Might have been asleep right then.
Cat Islands in Japan. Oh, Matalia sent me something.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah, I've seen that. I like the ones where they translate Japanese word for word into English.
Alrighty, yeah, cool.
Because, the syntax is all crazy because in different languages, syntax is differently. So if you do a word for word translation, it's very odd.
It's a bit like Monty Python when this is John Cleese, he's got the translation book.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Hungarian translation. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
He's been kicked out. He goes, my nipples explode
Yeah,
with delight.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's weird, you sort of grew up with that stuff. And to you back then, it was sort of, normal.
Mhm.
And it just towers over the creativity of today. It's like Barks.
Right.
It's the creativity. Who could equal that creativity today?
Yeah, I think there was somebody just did an interview today saying, yeah, all you get from Hollywood are just this flavorless, bland dishes that are just bland and unimaginative.
Yeah, it's like Blade Runner when it opened in the cinemas, it got bad reviews. I
Right.
went to the cinema and there was nobody there. Went with a friend. The friend said, yeah, I can see what the critics were saying.
Okay.
So they decided that Blade Runner was a bit of a silly film first off, and then years later, and people that were born about the time the film were made were worshipping it.
Yeah, well, there's a whole history about the different cuts that are better and worse. I don't know. I mean, there's a huge history there. Maybe we'll watch that one. Hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's weird. Worth asking what's the best out there right now that's in current. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's well, when you were living in Western civilization, let's say back in the 1960s, and it was a little bit more exclusive. Certainly, Western civilization was the one that was grabbing a lot of stuff around the world, though. Uh, Angelina sent me something about, she sends me all this stuff every day. You're on, you get in your Facebook chat. It's like
Right.
you get people that just send you tons of stuff every day, and like you have a few, do you?
Well, she's started.
Right. Okay.
She started with me.
And there's some stuff which is good. I mean, yeah, you sort of got to sort of start to think to yourself that, well, how much stuff am I going to send somebody? Am I going to send them so much stuff that they'd be spending 2 hours every day on it? So you have to pick and choose. Well, if you're going to send a joke, a meme which is a joke, I guess it'll have to be something really worthwhile.
Hmm.
If you're going to send some idea contents, well, it'll have to be, the ones which you think are the most important.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's something in Angelina which is just a little bit crazy. And it's not immediately obvious because she can talk in a very express herself very nicely. But one of the things is sort of like when you interact with other people, I suppose it means where you've put forward your piece, you sort of wait for a reaction sometimes.
There's a few things coming up that I'll point out to, well, for that matter, both her and you. There's another group doing, again, the three escapes of Hannah Arendt. Want to do that one again? You're probably sick of doing that one, though.
Oh, I don't know if I'm sick of it. Because she's very popular with quite a number of people. I don't know if I've ever fully gotten to the grips of Hannah Arendt, what she was about.
Well,
Well, she what did she do? She went against the trend in a culture which says it's liberal, which isn't actually liberal. I think that Russian philosopher who everybody's naturally going to hate is that liberalism in the West has become the new tyranny. She sent me one, yeah, where somebody did a paper on decolonizing the advance guard. So,
yeah, she sent me a bunch of videos, which I actually haven't looked at. Oh yeah, for Palestine.
oh yeah, yeah, she's always on about that one.
Satrapi died recently. Yeah.
Yeah, the confirmation of the evils of Israel, which probably has a certain amount of truth. The Palestinians, of course, if they had the chance, would exterminate the Israelis. They just don't have the power. And considering the world's population is going up and up, and there's going to be an increasing fight over territory. I mean, I think back post World War II, I think World War One, there was about 1 million people in Palestine. Post World War II was about 2 million. Now, how many would be there now? 15 million. So, it's the quantity is just going to up the pipe.
I always like to remind people that if you recall, well, not that either you or I were there, but I'm saying if you look at the record, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people at the time when Israel was being founded, lots of people were saying this is a bad idea for
uh,
a large variety of reasons.
yes. Of course, it belonged to the Turkish Empire, which was taken over by the British Empire. And the Jews came in and bought the land off Turkish landowners, so established themselves that way. The Turkish landowners were probably living in Istanbul. So it became quite an ethnic fight. But of course, they had what was it, partition, the UN partition, but the Israelis accepted it. It was probably, some say it was favourable towards them, which it probably was. That the Palestinians were never bar of it, but actually, in relation to where they ended up, it would have been a smart move to take that offer. And also, of course, if they had have remained, well, if it had been more peaceable, the Palestinians could have easily infiltrated Israeli society and ended up becoming the dominant factor again. But there's also the conspiracy theory that the conflict suits both sides. That there are certain people in the ranks of the Palestinians who their world is built on that conflict, and they're not doing the larger Palestinian population a favour. And of course, certain elements in Israel take a great advantage that there is a conflict to create an oppressive situation. It'll be interesting. I would predict that Israel's going to get a lot bigger because it's been given the green light by the Gulf Arabs, who have decided that poor Arabs are a greater menace to them than Israelis. But this is a thing the news doesn't is it absolutely avoids, is the role of the Gulf Arabs in the politics. It's just America and Israel. No Gulf Arabs are involved. What sort of news is that today?
Yeah. Somebody just recently asked me, yeah, where do you go for the right story? And I said, get a subscription to the Financial Times. That will tell you the right story. And Foreign Affairs magazine. That'll be the source to get the right information if you're interested in getting what's news sources that'll tell you what's really going on. Financial Times definitely will. Foreign Affairs magazine probably too. Yeah. That's where I would go if I were interested. For the most part, I'm not.
Well, there's a lot of media these days trying to keep up with it is an interesting task. Is it worth it? Probably not.
Yeah, right. Well, Gore Vidal said following politics is like following Hollywood. It's just trivia.
Yeah, so I put that link there. So there's one page you're on, decolonising the advance guard.
Okay.
So it's a classic carry on of Marx, who took the word spirit and replaced it with matter. There's this swap going on. Colonization referred to literally uh, a population going to another place, which is happening to the West in terms of foreign peoples practically colonizing the West.
Hmm.
But then they do it in terms of ideas. So they've taken something which is physical, matter, and turned it into spirit. So they've reversed Marx. Reverse Marx.
Hmm.
Actually, this week I spent quite a few nights not drinking. I decided to give up alcohol. And then when Facebook went down, when I woke up in the middle of the night, I got annoyed. So I said, mate, I had 5 drinks last night, which is rather typical, but
No.
I was planning on not drinking much anymore for the rest of my life.
Okay. Well, I'm still glad I never started.
Uh, I think out of all the drugs, alcohol is the greatest teacher. There is actually a message in alcohol.
Mm.
The others, I smoked for years, and I can't say there was any great lesson from smoking, but that alcohol is a teacher,
Mm.
even though it's better off to get away from it in the long run. It's a lesson. Alcohol is like running into a brick wall, and that's the lesson that Rick's avoided, to run into that brick wall and fall down and think, my God, there's a brick wall there.
Mm. Wow.
Well, you got the Nordic population in general has what do they call them again? Enzymes which break down alcohol, which other races don't have as much. I think the other Caucasian populations will have one of the enzymes, but the Nordics can end up with 2 or 3. Some Nordics will have about 3 of these enzymes, which enable them to drink a lot.
Mm.
With the results, and I didn't realise until I read it, that because of this, that alcoholism's a lot easier for Nordics. Well, I might see you tomorrow for the Japanese film.
All right. Sure.
I'll see you tomorrow then, Dave.
Okay.
Proud